How's this going? Are we looking for tonight's setup?
2 thumbs up.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a good meeting.
Hi, Mike.
Hey,
Yes.
David.
Hello.
Sabine, would you mind turning off your camera until your part starts? Because if you turn it off, then you can turn it back on. If I turn it off, it might kind of delay you. Thanks.
Good evening.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Oh, oops, I'm sorry.
Hello,
Hi there.
how are you?
Hi. Hi, Joel.
Hi.
We're missing Paul here. Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot to take the Globe Theater off my, off my.
It looks great. And you look great in it.
Oh, bless your heart.
Uh,
All right, it is 6 o'clock, but I'm not. Give Paul just a minute. I know he's coming. There he is. I see the name on the list. I'm gonna get started. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call the Sonoma County Library Commission meeting to order, and I will call the roll. David Cahill,
Here.
Andy Elkin,
Here.
Lee Stockton,
Here.
Paul Heavenridge. I know. Tom Hauser,
Here.
Heather Mackenzie. Barbara?
Oh, I'm here. I'm having a hard time. The audio is kind of garbled.
Yeah, I can't hear very well either.
Okay. Let me see if I can. Sorry. Put on some earbuds. Maybe. Oh, actually, I think it's the fan. Hang on. There's that better?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Apologies. I'll try it again. Paul Heavenridge. Barbara Mackenzie's here. Sam Mulford.
Here.
Present. Paul Heavenridge is present. Sorry.
No, I thought you were there.
Yeah.
I heard you, Sam. Joel Noberg.
Here.
Rachel Parker.
Here.
Aaron Schneider.
Here.
All right, we're all here. And I am going to take chair's privilege and move one of our items from the back of the agenda all the way to the front of the agenda. Item 11.1, which is the resolution honoring the Burbank housing. And we have 2 representatives with them. And so we would like to honor them today. Would somebody read the resolution honoring them?
I can. I'd love to.
Thank you, Commissioner Schneider.
Shall I take it away?
Please do.
So yes, this is Commissioner Schneider, Commissioner for Santa Rosa and Sonoma County. And this is a resolution honoring Burbank Housing. Whereas Burbank Housing has been a longtime community partner of the Sonoma County Library, and whereas the library and Burbank work cooperatively to serve limited income residents of the county, and whereas library staff have provided enrichment to families that reside in Burbank properties, bringing librarians, books, crafts, programs, story time, STEM activities, and other strategies to promote literacy. And whereas these activities are coordinated with meal programs in order to maximize their effectiveness. And whereas the library also supports book giveaways and little free libraries at Burbank properties, providing books that families might not have access to otherwise. And whereas Burbank's welcoming and collaborative staff supports the library's efforts to reach out to underserved families. Therefore, be it resolved that the Sonoma County Library Commission recognizes the extraordinary community partnership between the Sonoma County Library and Burbank Housing. On this date, July 12th, 2021, signed by Deborah Doyle, Chair of the Commission, and Ann Hammond, Director of the Library.
And we're delighted to do this. So I'm going to just take the roll to take this action by resolution. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin, Commissioner Elkin, Commissioner Foxen,
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenridge,
Yes.
Mr. Hauser,
Yes,
Commissioner
I'm still
McKenzie.
having trouble hearing.
Okay. I'll get closer. Commissioner McKenzie.
Enthusiastic, yes, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Milford.
Absolutely yes.
Commissioner Newberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And did I hear Commissioner Heavenridge a yes?
That is correct. Yes, from Commissioner Heavenridge.
All right. And it is unanimous. We have with us tonight we have Lauren Taylor, who is the Director of Resident Services, and Jacob Rich, who is a Resident Services Coordinator. And perhaps we could get them to say a few words.
Sure, I'll go ahead and start. Yeah, so my name is Jacob. I'm a resident service coordinator, and we greatly appreciate the partnership with the library and your librarians. It's really been a wonderful opportunity to help connect our residents, to connect them better with the library and the many resources that the library offers. And it's been really neat to actually, bring those resources onto, many of our properties. And have kids and parents interacting with your librarians and some of the different, because there's been like different games and activities. And then of course, just beyond like the events that we've had, there's been the lasting effect of having the libraries on site and the books that have been given out to families. So it's been really great. And we've really, your staff has been awesome and very proactive in working with us. So it's been great.
Thank you very much. Lauren, did you want to say something?
I'll just say, we really appreciate the recognition and your guys' partnership. So.
And we really are delighted that we're proud of the staff for working with you, and we know that it makes Sonoma County stronger. So we really appreciate all your work, and we look forward to additional stories in the future.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Any other commissioners have comments? We'll know that we are all delighted to welcome you. Thanks very much. And you don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Sounds good. Okay. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So moving on, we will move into presentations. More good news. And the first presentation is going to be from the Cloverdale Regional Library.
Can we just go ahead and get started?
Please do.
All right. All right. We're going to be covering up some information as we go along here. All right. Well, my name is Anna Daw, and I'm the branch manager for the Cloverdale Regional Library. I have worked for the library almost 14 years now. Most of those years were as a children's librarian, but I got hired in Cloverdale in August of 2020, which was still during the COVID restrictions. As such, I didn't even meet some of the staff for several months, but we are all back together now. And here is our lovely staff. Oh, wait. I'm in the way here. There we go. All right, so Donna is our teen librarian. She's worked in Cloverdale about 3 years, and before that, she was an extra help librarian for about a year. John Kotzner is our children's librarian. He's been in Cloverdale for about 3 years as well. And then we have Heather Lures. She's our full-time library specialist. She's worked for the library about 9 years and just ended up in Cloverdale during the pandemic and then didn't leave, and we're happy about that. And then Luana is our newest member. She's a half-time library specialist, and she came to us from Sonoma. She's been with the library about 6 years, but just about 6 months in Cloverdale. And you can see we have 2 empty positions, a full-time and a half-time library associate, and those positions have both been posted and closed. And I hear that there were over 30 applications for each one. So we are really looking forward to some new staff members. All right, here's our little library. There's the front, and then that's a picture of the kids' room right there. Let's see, it is on the main drag in Cloverdale, which isn't that big, but it's just north of the downtown. The building itself is about 72 square feet. And then there's a nice little shaded patio outside that's about 800 square feet. The Friends of the Cloverdale Library are super happy to be able to come back into the building. And they have put in a lot of work and dedication in the past. Before Measure Y, they paid for all of our programs almost, including summer reading. They hosted art shows, quilt shows, and contributed significantly to our remodel in 2016. So let's see, they also attend community events to promote the library and contribute funds for a variety of things, books, supplies, and even outdoor furniture. We also have a 7-member library advisory board, including 1 youth member. Let's see, here we go. There is a map of our active users. Cloverdale has a population of only about, it's under 9,000. So it's a pretty small town. 30% is Hispanic or Latino. And of those under 8,000 people that live in Cloverdale, about 1,700 are active card users currently. And that means that they have used their card within the last year. So there's quite a few. And then I did do a little inset of a neighborhood so you could see all the happy little dots there because it's kind of hard to see it when it's, you know, zoomed out like that, where you can see Geyserville and then the border, the northern border of the Sonoma County line. And then also I have on there the Student One cards, and we are very, all caps, very close to getting that all set up. It should be all set up by the time school starts, and we're excited to have that as an option. All right. And some statistics. We have a collection of about 29,000 items. And then this year we've had about 65, an average of 6,500 items circulating a month. And that is not counting the 3 months we were closed. So I took out the 3 months where we weren't checking out anything, and the average was about 6,500. The previous year was about 6,400 a month. So we are going up regardless, just despite the start of the pandemic. However, for our curbside pickups, after we did start up again, was about 533 a month average between June of 20 and June of 21. So let's see, outreach and events. The year prior to the pandemic, we had 600 in-branch events. And that's kind of a lot. It seems like it's a big number. It's because it is. The only branches that had more than us were Central and Sebastopol. So that's kind of cool. And about 5,000 people attended our in-library events, with an additional 2,300 taking part in our 95 offsite events. That if you add those numbers up, it's about over 80% of the Cloverdale population. I realize that the data doesn't work that way, but I thought that was kind of funny. Let's see. And then this is just some of the things that we've been doing and that we have to look forward to. There is an example of a take and make craft that was for the summer reading program. Of course, we've changed the way that we offer services because of the pandemic, and we're still offering some of those same services. Those have been very popular. Cloverdale has also been awarded a Library Innovation Lab grant from California Humanities, and this is to provide programming for immigrants. We talked to a lot of people in the community and have decided to move forward with offering a video camp for teens. And this is going to be in partnership with La Familia Sana, which is an organization that works with underserved community members, mostly immigrants and farm workers. The Cloverdale Family Apartments, which is an apartment complex for farm workers. The Alexander Valley Film Society, and then of course, library staff. Bridget Hayes, our digital literacy specialist and East Street Studio coordinator, will be contributing a lot of time and energy into this project. And the details are still being ironed out on that. We also are the recipient of a sizable bequest by longtime Cloverdale teacher Claire McGowan. We have a $300,000. We are working on the patio area of the library to make it more visible, inviting, and accessible. You can see there the picture of the picnic table. That's the patio. And then the other picture is looking at the patio from the road. You can see there's no visible windows. There aren't anywhere else in the library either until you get right to the front door. So we're planning on taking that big fence down and replacing it with something shorter and more inviting. People will be able to look into the library from the street and see that it's there. So this is really just at the very beginning of the planning stages, but we're pretty excited about that. Oh, we're gonna stop that. And then this is just some of the fun things that we're doing in the library and in the community. So the picture there of the two girls on the seats, they're sisters. They came in on the first day that we were open to the public, and they were so excited to be there. And it was just really nice to see. It was really, they were just so excited, and they come back at least once a week still. And then there's the little planter barrel there, the wine barrel that's painted with that little boy and his family. And that was a community art project that was sponsored by the city school or the Cloverdale Unified School District. And the kids and families painted the wine barrels. And then they have been put all over town. We actually have two, one on either side of our entranceway. And then they have flowers and stuff in them and little solar lights, and they're pretty cute. They're all over town. And then over there, you see the big red apple pumpkin thing. So that you saw on the previous slide as well. Cloverdale has a sculpture trail, and it's organized by the Cloverdale Historical Society and History Museum. And this particular piece is called the Big Red Candy Apple. And it's by MC Carolyn. And I did ask the artist before we decorated it. I thought that would be polite. And then also Cloverdale has a thing about fairy doors and the painted rocks that go along with them. I've learned a lot about fairy doors and painted rocks since I started there. They have maps that people can get and to go around and find them all. Unfortunately, our fairy doors have all been stolen, but we're providing a 3D printed on-demand fairy door along with paints and paintbrushes, and they've been pretty popular. We haven't advertised it really widely, but there's word of mouth, and we put it on Facebook and stuff like that, and people have really liked it. And then right below that are the rocks to go along with the fairy doors. A current staff member made those. Those are the temporary tattoos that came out of the marketing department with the logo and little Otto the otter there. And she painted them and covered them and sealed them. And we're going to put those around town. So that'll be fun too, just kind of a little fun thing. And then our children's librarian put together this little video, and I am hoping, I put the volume all the way up, so I'm hoping you guys can hear it. But so let me know if you can't.
It's like coming home again. I tell you, we've been away and now we're here where we belong. We have entertainment, we have education, and we have a good time.
It's wonderful. This is the thing we missed when the pandemic started. We missed the library more than anything in town. It's great.
I'm happy because so we don't have to stand outside because it's sometimes really hot, and I just like to see Mr. John and all the books that we get to pick out.
We're excited we can come pick out our own books, huh?
Mi nombre es Carmen Myers y quiero expresar mi gratitud por la biblioteca, especialmente por el hecho de que podemos buscar nuestros libros. Quiero que sepan que agradecemos mucho el trabajo de todas las personas de la biblioteca y por favor de abrir más días y más horas porque necesitamos la biblioteca en Cloverdale.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and my family loves the Cloverdale Library. I have 5 kids. We loved story time when we had it, and we're so happy to be back in the library where we can pick out our own things and talk to our favorite librarians.
Hey, this is Ace, and let me tell you, I'm so glad to be able to come back into the library and not go through all this other stuff to get my books. Not only that, it's really great to be able to interface with the human beings that run the library. So, everybody come on back. Thank you. Bye.
All right, that's it. That's all I got. Any questions?
That's great. Commissioner Foxon, do you have anything to add to the?
No, I think she did a wonderful job. The library is a part of the community, definitely part of the community. And John and Donna and the others that work at the library are reaching out into the community constantly. And it's really fun to run across them and meet them, you know, as I go about town, see what they're doing. So, and thank you, Anna, for coming up to the library. We appreciate you being here as our manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mackenzie?
Did you call on me?
I did.
Okay, I'm still having a little bit of audio problem. Thank you, Anna, for a really excellent presentation. I really appreciated all of the detail and the quirkiness of Cloverdale, and it was really nicely done, including the little video. I had one question. I thought that was an amazingly excellent and generous gift by Claire McGowan, the teacher, and I wondered if you could tell us any more about her connection to the library. It was such a generous bequest.
Yeah, actually, when I found out about it, I did look her up, and she came to Cloverdale as a young lady and got a job in the school district. And she was an elementary school teacher for, I can't remember the details, but it was like 30 or 40 years, and never had her own children, but was also, and then she was part of the Seroptimist Club that was there in Cloverdale. I know they have it other places, but she was involved in that. And I think she just loved the library. I would have to get into it a little bit more. I don't think she was like super specifically involved in the library, but she was a teacher and obviously recognized the value.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Anna, I know that you got there in the middle of the pandemic, but do you see the Cloverdale Library changing? Are you planning different kinds of things as a result of the pandemic? Has the neighborhood changed? You know, has the community changed a little bit? Not to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I like you said, I got there in the middle of the pandemic. I'm just starting to be able to meet the community members, which has been really nice to have people come inside and be able to meet them. And I have made connections with other organizations and community leaders in the area. I haven't other than, you know, we have our services that we offer and how much they have changed. The community is, as far as I can tell, has pretty much stayed the same. I mean, there's of course been a lot more need, for example, with the food giveaways that have been going on every week. You know, 200, 250, 300 families come every week to get free food. And that is, of course, way higher than it was pre-pandemic. But, you know, it's such a cool community. Everybody is works together really well.
Thanks very much. That's great. If there are no other questions, then we will move on to the Racial Equity Team quarterly report.
Chair Doyle, we do have Commissioner Parker.
Commissioner Parker, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. It's right on your window.
Oh, yeah, that's a mirror. I was late raising my hand too. I wanted to come back to your lab. How many vacancies do you currently have on your lab, and how active is your lab group?
So right now we are down the youth member. We had a really active youth member before I started, from what I understand, but they graduated high school and moved on. And then during the pandemic, a couple of people did bow out. And so we're down 2 regular members, and we're down the youth member. And I have had some meetings with them, but the lab meetings, but really they have been mostly, they couldn't really do a whole lot during the pandemic. So I'm hoping that will get more active as we go forward.
Yeah, I think we all are. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Did I miss anybody else? Okay. Then let us move on to the Racial Equity Team quarterly update.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Commissioners, Director Hammond, thank you for having us back. I'll just give a quick introduction of our team. Oh, except my PowerPoint doesn't, there we go. Okay. We have a core group of staff members who have been involved in the racial equity team. This includes our division manager, Lana Adlawan, HR manager, Suzanne Silva, myself, branch manager, Alita Dimas, 2 librarians, Sabine Salick and Stuart Wilkinson, and our library associate, Freddie Gonzalez. And all of us have been involved in the trainings provided by the California Libraries Cultivating Race, Equity, Inclusion, and Inclusion Initiative. And in June, we attended an additional 3-day training with this group, which gave us an opportunity to learn about what libraries are doing throughout California. And the presentation that you'll see today is an abbreviated version of the presentation that we gave to that group to share the work that we're doing as well.
Thank you for having us, commissioners. So as you know, our process has been changing organizational culture, and that takes a great deal of time. But the racial equity tools that we're learning and what's been put in front of us through GARE and the CREI team is a process of normalizing, organizing, and operationalizing. So as you know, through that normalizing process, sorry, I'm getting a little echo here. Through that normalizing process, has been getting senior leadership and library commission on board. And, you know, we want everybody to be on the same page, working and to identify and use a common vocabulary for the organization at all levels. The organizing process was the establishment of the racial equity team and laying the groundwork for the changes that we want to make and establishing the structures to do so. So we've been doing that through, like I said, the creation of our team and doing some of the trainings that we've been doing, and then moving along through the operationalizing phase, which is pretty much where we are now, by creating the hiring toolkit that we've been using for with the future focus on the programming toolkit, the really exciting thing that we've done is integrate racial equity into our strategic plan, our reimagining plan, which is really a great thing because the library hasn't had that in it before. And at this time, we recognize that there's the inclusion of an equity consultant that will hopefully be able to come into the plan and give the library suggestions. You know, ultimately, we would like to see a full-time staff that's part of the library, but you know, we will wait to see what the recommendations become. The other exciting part of this operationalizing is the outreach and community engagement that was a part of that reimagining plan, because it took 93 interviews and targeted to underserved communities as part of the creation of that reimagining plan. So, next.
Hello. As we continue to normalize this work, senior leadership and the Library Commission should center racial equity work in all aspects of decisions. Staff is already involved emotionally in racial equity work through book lists, their own advocacy, including the Queer Advocacy Team and Latinx Advocacy Team, and through a recent collection diversity audit. The staff is also working on racist subject headings change in our catalog and the popular Read BIPOC book clubs. Staff are not starting from ground zero. And each of these groups or staff members have the support from public service managers already. We are just building upon it. We want to build a foundation for all of us to use through resources and through trainings. Thank you.
We continue to organize and to lay the groundwork to change our institutional processes. We've reported on many of the items that you see on this slide at previous meetings. Tonight, I want to highlight a few of our achievements and tell you about some of our next steps. The library's HR team has been actively putting their HR toolkit into action. They've established some new practices that we hoped would improve the diversity of our applicant pool, and they've had some success. BIPOC applicants have increased from 70 in the first half of the fiscal year to 107 in the second half of the fiscal year. Our next steps on the employment front will be to work to create a more engaging employment page, and including images and short profiles that reflect the diversity of our staff and descriptions of the variety of jobs that we do at the library. We connected recently with the county's equity office. One of our team members has participated in GARE work through the county before, and the library system was recently asked to join the county's core equity team. And that will help us have a voice in advancing county-wide equity and diversity efforts. We're creating a formal racial equity team application that we will use to add staff expertise as needed. This will ensure the longevity of our team and also offer all staff a transparent process by which to apply to and contribute to our work. And we're happy to say that we're finally able to plan an in-person all staff day in October that will focus solely on racial equity training. Next, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is Lana Lowen, Public Services Division Manager. So I'm going to be talking about operationalize. So how do we do what we do? And it's really taking the theory, our training, our work with the Government Alliance of Race and Equity, and putting it into practice. So it's like riding a bicycle. The more that we use these tools, the easier they become, and they become part of our standard operating procedures. Our team is working on a decision-making tool PowerPoint so that it clearly explains some of the concepts behind race and equity, and some of the key phrases that we're using: normalize, organize, operationalize. Those come from the Government Alliance of Race and Equity, and those are system terms in moving this change forward. Our team wants to create a handbook so that there's a legacy of what we've done and what's to come before. So all of this important work is not lost through the years or the people who have contributed to it. We'd like to expand our racial equity work and our presence on our website. Our website is undergoing a lot of changes. So we hope that that's something in the future, something exciting to add for our internal staff and also our external partners. We want to continue to work with the commission as we have. Most of the commissioners took a survey at the end of 2020 that kind of took a baseline about racial equity, training needs and understanding. And so we want to continue that work with the commission and include training opportunities going forward. One of the statements here is to use racial equity tools in decision making. So some cities are using a decision-making tool that is based on racial equity to do things like decide budget priorities, decide capital project priorities. So you take data from something like Portrait of Sonoma and you align that with budget priorities to equal the playing field in our county. I think that's pretty exciting work that is being done in this field, and I hope that we can bring that to Sonoma County. And as Suzanne and our other team members have stated, the Reimagining Plan, we are thrilled that there is a focus on race and equity in the Reimagining Plan, and we're so excited about what is to come with that. And lastly, as Suzanne stated, our hiring toolkit and programming toolkit, this is the tool that we're using. So we're doing markers and indicators for our work every quarter, reaching those goals in terms of looking at applicants, seeing if we're meeting those needs, and continuing to assess and plan goals for that work going forward. That is part of our quarterly updates to the commission, just to keep this topic forward in our minds and continue to work on some great things for the future. Thank you.
Thanks very much. It is always very useful for us to hear of the progress that your group is making, and I see the word commission in the presentation several times, and not to throw a monkey wrench into your procedures, but would it be useful to have a commissioner as a committee member or as a liaison or something like that?
We'd absolutely love that. I think that's, keeping the communication close. We present every quarter, but there might be an opportunity for some great work to be done.
Okay, great. We are going to be taking a look at the committees. People are going to decide whether they want to stay on their committees, that sort of thing. So I will invite the commission to let me know if they have an interest in this. But you're really doing some great work, and I think that a handbook for a commission is fine, but I think it becomes more valuable if a commissioner has been part of the process, and it's so important. That it is really important, and we're thinking about that as there are new positions on the commission to fill as people cycle off, and so we want to make sure that we're looking at how we can help spread the word that diversity is one of the things, and equity is one of the things that Sonoma County Library stands for. Any other comments from the commission on the racial equity report? I'm not seeing any hands. All right. And is there any public comment on either of the presentations, the Cloverdale presentation or the racial equity presentation? I believe I'm supposed to ask for public comment at the end of the item. I also don't see any hands going up. All right, then we will move to item 4, and that is public appearances. And so members of the public who wish to address the commission regarding matters not on the agenda should request recognition at this time. Do we have any members of the public who have wanted to visit? I'm not hearing anything. So we'll move on. There are no reports from the library advisory boards or from the foundation or from the Friends of the Library. So we will move straight into the director's report.
Thank you. So let's see if we can bring that up, please. Thank you very much. So as you have noticed going through the management reports, we're getting closer and closer to pre-pandemic normal for all of our services. And interestingly, the in-person checkouts the physical item checkouts have really increased quite a lot since the early spring. It's almost double. And at the moment, Petaluma is leading the pack with the most physical checkouts. Curbside has simultaneously dropped quite a bit as more and more people are coming in and choosing their own materials. There are fewer people who need to use the curbside service, although we still want to offer that as an option. It's very important to have that flexibility. Central and Northwest are still doing a pretty brisk business in curbside. So, so that is, we're happy to be able to provide that. Looking through the other statistics, you'll notice that, you know, the programming, all of that is getting back to where it was pre-pandemic. It's going to take a little bit longer, but we are definitely committed to that. Thinking about in the future, you know, the Reimagining Plan has been mentioned several times already this evening, and that is such a great guide for where we go with our future. We studied the community quite in depth and got a lot of input there. So we know some things that we're going to be doing. As you remember from the presentation, the Reimagining presentation, we've got some quite ambitious goals laid out for ourselves. And for the first year, I wanted us to really focus in on planning and positioning. So we're going to pick up the facilities plan that had been approved prior to the pandemic. So we're going to be working with Group 4 architects from South San Francisco to do an audit and analysis of all of our locations to see not just what their physical status is in terms of their structure, but are they really meeting the needs of the communities? And if not, how do we need to adapt them? Do they need to be refreshed, remodeled, expanded, replaced? Do we have enough libraries? All of those things we're going to be answering. And we're also going to be looking at ADA analysis, because that is something that is another of our reimagining goals. We want to be sure that we provide services for everyone in the community, and that includes people who are physically or developmentally differently abled. So that's something that we'll be looking at. Another thing that falls in the planning category, I've asked Deputy Director Erica Thibault to do a staffing study, to lead a staffing study. This is something that our union folks have been asking for a long time, and I'm very happy that we're able to move forward with it now. We have the background of what we've learned through the reimagining process, and we know kind of where we are budget-wise. So it's a very good time to have a joint administration and union committee to look at not just do we have the numbers of staff that we need, but do we have the right talent? Do we have the right classifications for what we're doing currently and what we're going to be doing in the future? So this is definitely a look forward, not a look back. And I think that's a really important thing to be looking at. And then speaking of the reimagining plan and the goals that we've set beyond the planning and positioning, Erica Thibault is going to be convening a group to look at some of the other goals that we've set and kind of what can we do this year? What is realistic with everything else that's happening? What can we accomplish and what kind of timeline can we set to that? So she's got her job cut out for her, and I'm very happy to say that I'm fully confident that we're going to get some great information there from that staff group. And we are moving forward with the CFO search. As you know, we committed to work with CPS Consulting out of Sacramento, and they have everything set. Susan Hildreth is now consulting with them, and that's great because she not only knows Sonoma County Library and our communities, but she knows pretty much everybody in the library world in California. So she's going to really help get the word out there, and I look forward to being able to review a great slate of candidates very soon. And that's pretty much it for now. I'm sure you will have more questions as we move forward in the agenda for tonight. Is there anything you would like to ask or comment on right now?
We have Commissioner Schneider.
Commissioner Schneider?
Yes, thank you. A great report, Anna. It's wonderful to see the statistics going up. I wouldn't want to impose this on the staff for every month going forward, but perhaps for one of the forthcoming months, could we also see the pre-pandemic numbers that were referenced for just, I think just for 1 month was just an idea. But overall, just really stunning turnaround there. Nice to see. And Group 4, as I've mentioned before, is a wonderful architectural firm, and it will be exciting to have them do our facilities plan.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes, thank you. Great report, Ann. I was just kind of following up on what our chair said about a commissioner may be involved in the racial equity team. I'm wondering about commissioner involvement in the Reimagining Plan as we go forward. I received a email or newsletter, as I'm sure many of you do, from one of the supervisors, and the supervisors, county supervisors, are being kind of attached to specific themes in their strategic plan and seem to be involved. And so I think I'd like to see some way that commissioners could be involved in the Reimagining Plan moving forward. And in the same way, the Master Facilities Plan, I'm really excited about that going forward. Whether there's an opportunity for commissioner at least input into that. I always worry that it'll get lost somewhere in the ozone that the Ronan Park Library is constructed to hold a second story, for example. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, just I'm always kind of looking at ways that we can help and we can be involved without, impeding progress or, being annoying or in the way. But I think that hopefully is a place for us in some of these big things that are going forward.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think there definitely can be a place for commissioners. And regarding the facilities plan, Erica and I had a meeting last week with Group 4, and the way their process is, it's very interactive, and they gather a lot of feedback from the staff, from the community, from the stakeholders. So they will definitely be doing a meeting, at least one meeting, with commissioners and lab members and friends to gather their feedback about the various facilities and how they're functioning.
And this is a perfect opportunity to think about committees or ad hoc committees or that sort of thing. So, thanks, Barbara. Yep. Anybody else? I see no other hand. Okay. Anne, would you like to go on and talk about the records and archives?
Sure. So as you probably have heard, the county is signing a lease with the Farm Bureau space over near the airport. It's about 5,200 square feet. And we expect that to be in effect by August the 1st. We have ordered some materials for packing up the materials that are out at the archives. There's a little bit of a delay on delivery, but by early in August, we'll have all of the needed supplies. We're going to go ahead and be working on cleaning the materials and having everything kind of positioned so that it will be a quick matter to pack everything and get it moved. This week, there is the staff group that will be going out to the new space along with Facilities by Design to look at the space and get everything planned so that we can, when we get in there, we can get things positioned in the most effective way possible. I don't know what level of tenant improvements we'll have at this point. Dave is on vacation this week, but I don't think it's going to be a huge amount. It's a pretty basic space, very clean, very open, good lighting, good HVAC. And so we fully expect to have everything completed in terms of the move by the end of August. And this is, my understanding is it is a 2-year lease that the county is arranging, but the Farm Bureau is very amenable to extending that if the county is unable to come up with a permanent location within those 2 years.
Okay. Commissioner comments?
We have Commissioner McKenzie.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Thank you. Thank you, Anne, for all of your work on this and anyone else who has been involved. I think it's a great relief to have this very successful conclusion in a timely way. And hopefully before anything, desperate happens in the world of fires. I'm understanding that the county is the leaseholder and the county will be the one paying the landlord for the building, and that you're working on an MOU which will kind of designate it who's responsible for what. I was just kind of curious about that, for if a patron comes into history and genealogy and requests some materials, I could see that our staff responsibility to go get it and bring it back. In terms of the county office requesting some of these materials for their own office, do you think that a library staff would still be involved in that kind of thing?
It'll work exactly the same way it has been, and I'm not sure if a county department is asking for something that, I would have to defer to staff on that, because I don't know precisely how they have handled that, if the county retrieves those materials themselves or if we do that for them.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't mean that it's a permanent arrangement either.
No, we'll continue to have the conversation, but the important thing is to get the materials moved to safety right now.
Right, and I should have called on public. I should have opened it to public comment before I asked the commission to.
Can I say something, Chair Doyle? This is Paul Hevridge. Yeah.
Could you, Ms. Gavin, could you wait until after the public comments? I should have asked for public comments first. So my apologies. And I understand that there are 2 public comments.
Yes, Chair Doyle, we do have 2 written submissions, and we also have a hand raised at this moment. So I'm assuming that's a public comment. Okay. Would you like me to read the letters, or would you like to
read the letters, and then we'll hear from the person who is here.
Okay, great. All right, public comment submission 1. Dear Commissioners, advocates for the Sonoma County Archives wish to thank the Sonoma County Board of Supervisors for approving $140,000 to relocate the Sonoma County Archives from Los Quilicos to a more secure facility outside of the wildfire zone. In her July 8th report to the Historical Records Commission, Director Hammond stated the entire collection will be moved to a 5,200 square foot space on West Wind Boulevard in Santa Rosa, part of a larger building owned by the Sonoma County Farm Bureau. The move will be completed by the end of August. The county will pay the rent and has signed a 2-year lease effective August 1st, 2021. The library will pay for moving the materials, supplies, and tenant improvements. Now, the focus can be on the future funding, care, management, and access to this collection that belongs to the Sonoma County residents. This is the ideal opportunity to create a space where staff and researchers can work. A major issue with Los Quilicos is the need to transport materials back and forth between the building and the History and Genealogy Library. Library staff has to pick up and return materials for cataloging, rehousing, and fulfilling patron requests, making simple research questions lengthy, costly, and self-intensive. Moving records between locations is potentially damaging to the materials. Staff and the public should be able to work with the collections on site. As stakeholders, we continue to offer our support to the county, library, and Historical Records Commission as long-term plans for the archives proceed. Sincerely, Catherine J. Reinhardt and Lynn Downey, co-chairs of the Advocates for the Sonoma County Archives. Submission 2. Dear Library Commissioners, We are very pleased that the library and the Sonoma County supervisors have reached an agreement on moving the archives out of Los Gilicos into a safer interim location before the end of August. Over the preceding months, we have communicated our grave concerns over the archives to the Commission and now wish to give our thanks to both parties for this agreement. We look forward to an arrangement that will continue to make the contents of the archives available to the public. It is important that the library remain manager of the archives, although with more support from the county, so that the public's access to the collection continues. This would be a good time to consider making the archive building accessible on a limited basis with workspaces to make necessary the transport of the material to the History and Genealogy Library. We also hope to see a more detailed inventory of the archives than the one currently posted on the library website, one that will indicate the contents of the various boxes and volumes. It is very important that the many stakeholders who have argued so ardently for the archives are represented in the discussions and decisions about both the short and long-term future of the archives in coordination with the library and the county. The relocation of the archives has been a long time coming, and we thank those who have made possible these first steps. Sincerely, Daniel Marquin, Emeritus Professor of History, Sonoma State University, Joe Marquin, long-time volunteer at the History and Genealogy Library. Thank you.
And we have a public comment in the room, I think. Would you care to speak?
Yes, am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Carol Eber, and I am not a county employee. I am the descendant of Mark West, who was a county pioneer in the 1840s. I wanted to say that today I was at a site on Mark West Springs Road trying to identify the location of the Mark West family burying grounds. I first became aware of this burying ground on a map that was located in the History and Genealogy Library, and I had never seen that before. I had heard stories about the family cemetery, but not the location. And so a group of us have been for the past 4 years attempting to locate it. We have used records from the library, which include wills, probate, marriage licenses, newspapers, all kinds of archives that are located in the History and Genealogy Library to try and identify what the location of this burying ground is. Last week, we actually had canine forensic dogs that came out and identified 13 sites. So we are continuing to explore. My point is that if it wasn't for all of the resources that the library held, this would have gone undetermined and unlocated and undiscovered. I sent an email to Commissioner Heavenridge and asking him, what exactly do you consider county records that you no longer want responsibility for? Because we've looked at marriage licenses and death certificates and wills and probates, and I'm afraid that much of this material is going to be shifted away from the library and put somewhere else. And actually, I'm concerned about even the accessibility. So I just want to thank you for making these documents available. It's a very exciting time. We don't know quite where this is going to lead and what will result, but we have identified grave sites and look forward to working with the property owner on how we might commemorate Mark West and his family, who were early Sonoma County pioneers. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yeah, I think my comment was already out. I just wanted to note what the library's contribution is. I know the Board of Supervisors approved the allocation of 140,000, but I think Ann had answered that in her section that we're committed to paying for the moving and subsequent other expenses to get the collection up. And I think that we're also devoted as a library system to make the collection accessible and clear what's in the collection. So that's something I know we already started to do that on the website. And as some of the public have commented already, it'd be a good idea to be a little more specific and if we can. And so we know the public knows what the collection is and what's available. So that was my comment. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And of course, we all have to remember that we are grateful that we can move the material at all. We're grateful that we're able to move it from Los Guilicos. So the first priority was to get it out of Los Guilicos. Then the second priority is getting it organized enough to find the material. And of course, as the move is happening, it's going to, we'll keep that in mind. But this is probably not going to be, well, I won't even speculate. I think that there are going to be all kinds of conversations about this, but I don't think anybody should expect to knock on the door and go into the building once they've finally gotten there for a little while. So, any other commission comments? Okay. And do you want to, Director Hammond, would you like to go on and talk about the library news?
Sure. I have one more comment about the archives before we move along. Staff have let me know that the question regarding who retrieves materials that other county departments want to use, that's all mediated through the library staff. We go and get the materials and make them available for delivery or for viewing. So that will not change. All right. Library news, you can see in the packet, we've had a lot of things happening in the library in the month of July. Fun things. I have to mention the open mic contest, which was absolutely delightful. And if you've not seen the video of the 8-year-old boy from Sebastopol who won the contest, do yourself a favor and look it up. He is so adorable. That's all I can say about that. And our staff are always doing wonderful community engagement programs like this. And I will make a strong effort to point them out to you ahead of time from now on so that you can participate rather than hearing about them after the fact. Yeah, I believe Ray Hawley is on the line today. So Ray, if there's anything about the library publicity that you would like to share, please jump in.
There I am, Ray Hawley, Communications Manager. Thank you, Director Hammond, Chair Doyle, and Commission. Publicity notes continue to evolve. As all of you probably know, the print newspaper environment continues to shrink in Sonoma County and elsewhere in the world. The pandemic closed 5 print newspapers in Sonoma County. They're all still in existence online, but quite a few changes. So while this document used to include clips from print newspapers, now it includes social media posts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email newsletter, screenshots, all kinds of things like that. And we're following it as closely as we can and enjoying seeing the outreach out there. And I would like to just mention all the community partnerships. As a lot of you noticed, the cities where you live immediately started weekly newsletters when the pandemic started. And in about 3 weeks, they started wondering what they were going to put in those newsletters. And the library came along and started providing content. So they've been wonderful partners with us. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Barbara?
Yes, thank you, Ray. It's a great outreach effort through all the media. I really appreciate all you're doing. Could you, I actually had a question from a constituent or a patron who asked if on our Facebook page, we could provide links to the commission meetings. And I wondered if you had any thoughts about that. I don't think it would be like for a live streaming thing. Maybe it would be even a link to agendas or something like that, but more of an announcement, kind of using our Facebook to announce commission meetings.
We can certainly do that. Perhaps you could email me. We could take this offline and I could get some more details about whether they're looking for a day of or a posting on Friday when we do the public posting or something else. We'd like to answer their request as directly as possible.
Great, thank you.
Thanks very much. And one last comment as we leave the director's report. I think it's Siri was a wonderful presence for the library, and I have to say that that we are sad to see her go, and hope that some of the things that she was working on continue to be top of mind for management, developing a plan to foster a culture of philanthropy, those kinds of things. I think that it will be, we look forward to helping, but we also look forward to hearing what you all are going to be doing and how we can help spread the word. So let's see. All right, budget and finance reports.
Chair Doyle, I don't believe we have Randy Seipel with us. I don't see him on the participants list. Chair Elkind, would you like to go through the financials or would you like me to? Either way would be fine.
I'll be happy to make some brief comments and you can add. Naturally, my dog has chosen this moment to announce that somebody's coming. I'm sorry. Can we excuse me just 1 second? I'm going to try to quiet him down so I can give this report. Tucker, what's going on, buddy?
Do you wanna set it up, Anne, as while he?
Sure. Yeah, I tried to tee it up for him because my dogs were making noise too, but maybe they'll be quiet for a few minutes. The joys of telecommuting. So the main thing to note is that as of May, we were doing fine with our revenues, ahead of projections, and expenses right about where they should be. I was just filling time, Andy, so if you'd like to take it now.
Thanks. Thank you very much. And again, sorry, we had an unexpected visitor who came to the wrong address. Yeah, what Director Hammond was just saying is the big picture. Revenues have continued to run ahead of course, the very conservative projections we had made at the start of the year, but also ahead of last year's revenues. So from a revenue perspective, the 2021 fiscal year has been more successful than we could have hoped. On the expense side, library staff has done a great job of managing our expenses, and the financial picture overall is quite positive, setting the foundation for the budget that the commission approved last month. Beyond that, I don't, if there are specific questions or from any of the commissioners, I'd be happy to address them, but I just want to say that, you know, reviewing the financial reports in detail with Randy and with Director Hammond has been a key part of the Finance Committee meetings and will continue to be. We're looking forward to being able to hire a new CFO, but in the meanwhile, I feel very comfortable and confident with the work that Randy and his team have been doing, with the help, of course, of the library staff in keeping us on top of the financial picture.
Super. Thanks, Commissioner Elkin. Any public comment? Any commissioners' comments or notes or questions? Okay. And, Commissioner Schneider.
Yes, just want to once again comment on the very readable reports and excellent comparisons in this. Really terrific reporting. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, we'll move on to commission and liaison reports. Does anyone have anything to add to their commissioner reports? I'll just roar down the list. Commissioner Cahill? Hearing nothing. Commissioner Elkin?
Nothing to add to my report, but I did want to give a shout out to Commissioner Schneider. I thought, I always value her perspective as a library professional. And particularly this month, I thought her comments with regard to the historical materials in the archives were very relevant. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Foxen?
Nothing to add to my report.
Commissioner Heavenridge?
Nothing to add for the advocacy report.
Commissioner Hauser?
No.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Commissioner Mulford?
Yes, I'd like to share that I spent some time today looking at putting together a road trip for myself within the county in terms of being able to visit every library and understand from a county perspective kind of just the nuances of the whole of the organization. And so I have 4 trips planned in the next 4 to 6 weeks in which I will do a grouping of libraries that makes sense and just really become more familiar with every nuance of the libraries that we have. And I will write up my understanding of what I've learned and share that with the whole of the commission and others as well. And if anybody wants to join me on any of these excursions, just give me a call.
Thanks very much. Great idea. I'll give you a call. Commissioner Newberg?
No.
Commissioner Parker?
Yeah, so I didn't include in my report that Commissioner McKenzie and I had a delightful afternoon meeting with Rachel Ikaza at the Ronan Park branch. It was just terrific listening to her talk about her experiences in the branch she worked in Central, as well as her work with youth and challenges of making sure that youth are connected to the library. She's a wonderful resource. I think we should see if we can clone her because it'll be the administration's gain when she goes back to her real job, but perhaps our branch is lost. I hope we can find somebody as dedicated as she is to working with the community. Thanks.
You. Commissioner Schneider?
I just want to thank Director Hammond and the staff at the library for their hard work on the archives, getting us as far as we have so far. And I just have fingers crossed that everything unveils as we hope it will. Thank you.
Thank you. I would echo that. And nothing to add to mine, although we will probably be hearing more from Sacramento. The library item, the large funding for libraries hasn't been signed off yet, but there's supposed to be a trailer bill that is percolating around Sacramento, and one hopes that it will be signed. If we need you to make some telephone calls, the advocacy committee, I'm sure, will certainly let you know about that. Right, let's see. And committee and liaison reports. Commissioner Elkind?
Only a couple of things I'd like to highlight briefly in the Finance Committee report. One was our discussion about providing a more appropriate budget flexibility to Director Hammond, and that's a topic that we will be discussing later in tonight's meeting. I just wanted to say that we had I thought, a very good discussion at the Finance Committee about this, and that I'll be able to enthusiastically support the recommendation tonight. Along with that, we also had a preliminary discussion about providing additional and more timely financial information to library managers, to division managers, which I think will go hand in hand with providing appropriate flexibility to the director. And finally, I wanted to say that we had a lengthy and very interesting presentation by CalPERS. And while I certainly appreciated what they shared about some options that are available to us as a way of pre-funding our pension liabilities, I think what it really did was to remind me and the Finance Committee that we need to take a closer look at the library's pension obligations and how we are going to be sure that we're meeting them in a fiscally responsible way. So that is a topic that will be covered, I expect, over multiple Finance Committee meetings to come. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Commissioner Hedmenridge, I believe you said that you had nothing to add to your Advocacy Committee report earlier?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing to report, nothing additional for the HRC report. Commissioner Hauser, you're
Nothing additional.
Nothing additional? All right. Any public comments? Any commissioner comments? Okay, we will move on to lab. So we have a lab appointment, a reappointment in Sonoma, and a lab appointment in Ronan Parkitabi. Commissioner Hauser, would you like to?
Yes, on Sonoma Lab, I want to say just a little bit about Yanel, who's our student member right now, and I want to have her reappointed for an additional year. She'll be a senior this coming year in high school. It's due to Yanel and her family that we actually became aware of the difficulty that some people have with a poor internet connection when all of a sudden students were called upon to do all their studying and schooling online. And there was, I think, 3 students in her, there are 3 students in her family, maybe 4. And they were trying to use one very slow connection, and it just didn't work out at all. And it came to our attention that at times they would come and park in the parking lot, but also that didn't provide very good connections. And that was the impetus that we had in Sonoma to start the expanding of the Wi-Fi throughout the parking lots. And I want to thank the family for this. And having said that, I move by resolution that the Sonoma County Library Commission appoint Yanel Velasquez as a youth advisory position on the Sonoma Library Advisory Board for a term ending June 30, 2022.
I'll second that. And then I'll call the roll. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkind.
Yes.
Mr. Foxen.
Yes.
Mr. Heavenridge.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser,
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie,
Yes.
Mr. Mulford,
Hell yes.
Mr. Newberg,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
and I will make it unanimous. That's wonderful. All right, now we have a library advisory board appointment for Ronan Parkitabi. Who wants to talk about this? Who wants to talk about our candidate? Barbara?
I'm sure Rachel and I both want to talk about it. I'll just lead off a little bit, and then Rachel can, of course, comment and they're all lumped together. So I guess this is going to be one motion, but Rachel and I had an excellent conversation, a group of interviews organized by our branch manager, interim branch manager, Rachel Akaza. And Rachel and I were all so enthusiastic about all three of these. There's a great spectrum from a brand new, super young woman at Technology High School, and a pharmacist who is a pharmacist at Healdsburg Hospital, and Faith Adam, who's a longtime library, a volunteer and former teacher. And it was an inspiring group of interviews, and we all got really excited about the future of the lab. And I'm sure Rachel has some comments she'd like to add also.
Yeah, I was so impressed. We started off talking with Lorene, who is the pharmacist. She grew up in Sonoma County, was a patron of the old Rohnert Park Library, then moved to San Francisco, went to pharmacy school, was involved with the library as a student advisor to the UCSF student library at the campus, and instantly took on a fairly strong advocacy for the students when the library wanted to reduce hours. She had a great story to tell about how she reached out to the community to make her point that the reduction in hours was going to be a real harm to the students. Faith Adam was a long-term youth educator. She's retired some time ago, but maintains a strong passion for outreach to mothers, Spanish-speaking mothers throughout the community, to make sure that they know that the library is available to them so that they can read to their children in both English and Spanish. And then Natalia Simone Tan, she goes by Simone, and she's just a dynamo. She's going to be at Tech High as a senior. And in addition to wanting to resume her relationship with the library, she's going to be on student government going forward in the fall. So she had all kinds of great ideas for expanding the word about the library to her school. So I think we have three dynamic and wonderful candidates for the Library Advisory Board, and I join Barbara in supporting them.
Wonderful. Well, then why don't you move by resolution? And you've got a second right there.
Yeah. So I,
please,
Rachel Parker, move by resolution that the Sonoma County Library Commission appoint the following applicants to the terms as listed: Faith Adam and Lorene Atala to advisory positions on the Rohnert Park Katati Library Advisory Board for terms ending June 30th, 2025. Natalia Simone Tan to a youth advisory position on the Rohnert Park Katati Library Advisory Board for a term ending June 30th, 2022.
I enthusiastically second that motion.
There we go. All right, then I will ask the rest of the commissioners. Mr. Cahill.
Yes.
Mr. Elkin.
Yes.
Mr. Foxon.
Yes.
Mr. Heavenridge.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie again.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford. Commissioner Mulford.
Sorry. Yes.
Commissioner Newberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
And I'll make it unanimous. Wonderful. I do have, is there any public comment? I should ask that first. Any public comment on these great folks? I don't see any. Just a note, I would love to see bios, just brief bios, but I would love to see bios of lab appointments. We never do. And I think that it would be lovely if we actually knew, if we heard additional information about some of these folks. Does anybody have any objection about that?
No, if I could just comment, I mean, we get really good applications with all that information on there. I think that's a really good idea that the whole commission should know, how good the quality of these applicants is. And at a follow-up, when we were meeting with our, branch manager, Rachel Akaza, she was talking about really having a place for volunteers, because since we're hiring shelvers, we don't have as many opportunities for teens to volunteer and possibly even adults to volunteer, that these labs are a really good place for our volunteers to make a difference and participate through the lab and also through the friends. And Simone, the teen who just got appointed just the second, she already got very active, and the friends we're starting off every Friday. They're going to be a mini book sale in front of the Ronan Park Library. And Simone got involved in that right away and pulling books and doing all kinds of stuff. So the enthusiasm is terrific. And again, we're all excited about these new folks. Thank you.
All right. On to the consent calendar. There's only one item on it. Does anybody object to the consent calendar? The minutes of the June meeting?
I move that we approve the consent calendar, which consists of the minutes of our last regular meeting.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
All right, we're going to take the roll. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Alpin.
Yes.
Mr. Foxen. Commissioner Heavenry.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Did I hear you, Commissioner Foxen? I didn't. Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
There you go. Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Newberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
Commissioner Foxen.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll make it unanimous. Great. Now we're moving into action items by motion. Let us talk about, Anne, do you want to tell us about the Facilities Master Plan Development Agreement?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we have selected Group 4 Architecture to conduct our facilities analysis and plan. The professional services agreement that you see in the packet was reviewed by legal counsel. Group 4 was previously selected before the pandemic. The price is a little bit higher now because the price of everything is a little bit higher. Plus, we added in the ADA assessment that had not been included previously, but it is a very important piece of this, and that adds about $100,000. So we have an agreement that has a not to exceed amount of $300,000. And I think that will be money very well spent to get an in-depth analysis and plan for each of our physical locations.
Any questions?
I'd like to make a comment. I'm really happy that we're adding the ADA assessment, because anytime we mess with these buildings, we're required to look at that, and we can't do a lot of things unless we do comply. So it's important that we have that information before us. Thank you.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes, thank you. I think it's this facilities plan and the ADA assessment is a great idea. I was curious under 2.14 why headquarters or the satellites or Roseland were not included for ADA assessments, even if they are not planned, for renovations.
Well, we did not include RPHQ because it's a leased property, and I really was looking at it from the standpoint of the physical improvements for the public. And you're right about the ADA assessment. So that is something that I can have further conversation with the architects about to see how much it might increase the amount if we add those locations. The satellites are so very, very tiny I'm quite sure that they are not ADA compliant, but I'm not sure how we could make them ADA compliant. But that's probably not an excuse to not check. So I can certainly find out.
You know how much. Is there a puppy that has something to say?
That one's not mine.
Not mine either.
Sorry, there's two of them. They're dachshunds. They are very vocal, and I apologize.
Then does someone want to move to approve?
May I just make a comment and question?
Sure,
Deborah?
please. I didn't see your hand.
Yeah, I apologize. I know this is a facilities report or analysis, and and I see that there's, you know, cost modeling that's going to be going into it as well. I'm not looking to throw a monkey wrench into the process at this point, but I'm wondering if, as part of this analysis, there will also be consideration of how some of these needs might be economically or more economically met through mobile facilities.
Absolutely. That's very much a part of what this particular architectural firm does. And I can tell you that from experience. We did a comprehensive facilities plan in Lexington using this particular group. And we went into it with a very clear understanding that we needed at least 2 more library branches to serve growing areas of the population. And after they did a very in-depth analysis of the demographics and of the usage statistics and traffic patterns, everything, they came back and said, you do not need to build any more branches. You just need to improve the ones you have. And then you also need to look at alternative service delivery methods. So mobile libraries, pop-up libraries, partnerships, deposit libraries. There are different ways to meet the needs of the community without building more branches, which is very good news. And it's particularly important here where we don't own the buildings and we don't, you know, we can't say X community, you've got to build a library for us. That's up to the city or the county, the JPA partner. So the information that we gather, I think, is going to be very, very important in the relationship between the library and the partners. But we have to understand the financial realities. It would be very, very difficult to add libraries, but it's not necessarily so difficult to add alternative service delivery. So that is certainly something that we'll be looking at.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Great. May I have a motion?
I so move.
I second.
Okay, Tom seconds. We are going to vote. Any other comments? Okay. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Commissioner Elkin.
Yes.
Mr. Foxon.
Yes.
Commissioner Heavenwood.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie.
Yes.
Mr. Mulford.
Yes.
Commissioner Newberg.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Schneider.
Yes.
And I will make it unanimous. And I will say that Group 4, I was delighted when I heard that we were going to be working with them. Not only do they have all kinds of experience with facilities, but they're also very passionate. David Nee, who is one of the original partners, when we were fighting for library dollars in Sacramento, David was right there in line talking about how libraries needed to have funding. It was, so it's really okay. On to the purchasing amounts for the Greenfield project.
Okay. And so Manager Tacheva is on vacation this week, so I will bring this forward. We have an approval of $2,590,920. And so we need to allow staff to sign contracts for this amount. As is described in the background information.
Mhm. Any questions for Ms. Hammond? Okay. May I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the Ann Ham Library Director to authorize purchase exceeding $50,000, but not exceeding $100,000 for the Gurnville project.
Thank you. A second?
Excuse me, it's written as not exceeding 150,000.
150.
I'm
yes.
sorry, it's 150.
I'll second as
Thank you.
amended.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cahill, any other comments? I see no hands up. Okay. Commissioner Cahill,
Yes.
Commissioner Elkind,
Yes.
Foxon,
Yes.
Mr. Heavenridge,
Yes.
Mr. Hauser,
Yes.
Mackenzie,
Yes.
Mr. Mulford,
Yes.
Mr. Newberg,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
and I will make it unanimous. Thank you. And our third is to approve the delegation of authority and budget allocation policy. Oh, wait, yes.
This is an amendment to the existing delegation of authority policy. We wanted to increase the amounts simply because the costs have risen so much. And because many of our projects are quite pricey. So once they've been approved, it slows us down if we have to come back to the commission for approval on individual expenses related to approved projects. We also wanted to make sure that we have a delegation of authority outlined for our deputy director and to make a couple of tweaks to the amounts otherwise listed. So for example, the human resources manager needed a higher amount equivalent to the division managers.
I think certainly we have talked about this in the finance committee a lot. I think that the limitations make for longer reports for us and, and for you. So are there any questions about this? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve delegation of authority and budget allocation policy.
Second.
Thank you. And now we'll take the vote. Any final comments? Okay, thanks. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Mr. Elkind.
Yes.
Mr. Foxon. Mr. Foxon.
Yes.
Thank
Yes. Yes.
Heaven Ridge.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
Mr. Mackenzie.
Yes.
Mr. Mulford.
Yes.
Mr. Newberg.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Schneider, thank you. And I will make it unanimous. Thank you. All right. Did I ask for public comment? I don't think I did. I'm sorry. Public comment on all of those action items. I don't see any hands. All right. We have done item 11. We have a discussion on the agenda, but I'm not sure that we have a topic. So I think we can. Yes.
Chair Doyle, we do have 10.4, election of commission officers.
Oh, golly, how did I miss that? I'm so sorry about that. I completely forgot it. Okay. We're re-electing chair and vice chair.
Maybe.
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 Well, I'll move that Deborah Doyle be elected as chair of the Sonoma County Library Commission for the term beginning August 1st, 2021 and ending July 31st, 2022.
I'll second.
Thank you. And do we want to, how have we done this in the past? Have we included the vice chair as well? Especially since there's only
You
one.
should do them separately.
Separately?
And ask if anybody else wants to run.
So it doesn't say draft motions. All right. Does any public comments, any discussion about my being the chair?
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to be the chair?
There you go.
We have Commissioner McKenzie with her hand raised.
I don't want to be the chair, but I do want to say something. I want to thank Commissioner Doyle for her leadership in this past year, which has been, I'm sure, extraordinarily difficult and doing all this, everything virtually. And I really appreciate her leadership and her knowledge of, vast knowledge of libraries and advocacy and all the things that you know about. Anyway, I really appreciate your service in the past year, and I really appreciate the service of Vice Chair Hauser in the past year. Again, difficult to do this all virtually, and I want to thank all the committee chairs for their extra work and responsibility that they've had. Thank you all.
Thanks very much. All right, then I will call the roll. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Mr. Elkins.
Yes.
Mr. Foxon.
Yes.
Mr. Heavenridge.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser.
Yes.
Mr. McKenzie.
Yes.
Mr. Mulford.
Yes.
Mr. Newberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Schneider.
Yes.
I'll vote yes too. What the heck? And I would, I would like to nominate Tom Hauser to be the vice chair of the commission.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Anybody else want to jump in as vice chair? I'm not hearing a word from the crowd. All right. Commissioner Cahill.
Yes.
Mr. Elkins.
Yes.
Mr. Foxon.
Yes.
Mr. Heavenridge.
Yes.
Mr. Hauser.
Abstain.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford.
Yes.
Mr. Newberg.
Yes.
Mr. Parker.
Yes.
Mr. Schneider.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So that's 10 and 1 abstention. All right. Thank you very much for your service, Mr. Hauser. And with that, we will go into our closed session and see you all on the flip side.
Commissioner McKenzie, are you supposed to be in the closed session? Oh, there you go.
Okay, is everybody back? Okay, we took no action in the closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957.6. Does anyone have agenda items for future commission meetings? We'll be talking offline about commission assignments, committee assignments, etc.
Deborah, I think the Finance Committee may be wanting to have a discussion or a presentation about the pension liabilities. And I don't know that that's next meeting or a later meeting, but just keep that in mind that it's a growing liability out there.
Okay.
We have Commissioner Schneider.
Schneider?
Yes, just to remind us all, let's keep the archives on the agenda for the indefinite future. And I also know at past commission meetings, we've had brief conversations about rethinking the timing of the meetings and so forth. And I encourage us to pursue some analyses of the timing of the meetings and the packets. Thank you.
I think you've just probably volunteered to chair an ad hoc committee, Karen.
No good deed goes unpunished here.
That's
I
right.
had to open my mouth. Okay. Yes.
There we go.
And I agree. I think I'd be pleased to do so.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you'll all be thrilled that the bylaws and Lisa's committee is active again. So we'll be reporting to you shortly. I'm looking for additional hands and I am seeing none. Get thoughts to me if there are things that you, and also things about the year. This is the beginning of our year. And so let's have a conversation about what we want to accomplish in the next year. And do send send a note to me or give me a buzz and we can have a conversation. Otherwise, we are going to get out of here at a reasonable time. Our next meeting is going to be Monday, August 2nd. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Before we adjourn, I see location TBD. Are we thinking about meeting in person?
Thank you very much. We are thinking about meeting in person. And I have to say, I have to admit that I was one of the, I'm a strong voice in encouraging us to meet in person. Although certainly I am mindful of everyone's sensitivity and I don't think Jeff necessarily has to drive over from Sacramento to meet. He could probably Zoom in, although we would love to see you in person, certainly. Are there thoughts about meeting in person? And we did send out a poll, and the majority wanted to meet in person as long as we were careful, and so I'm not sure whether that would be at HQ. Staff had not made a recommendation about that to me. Any thoughts?
I think it would be at HQ. That's where we're set up. Yes.
I mean, I think if the staff is meeting in person, then it's something that we should really consider strongly. So if you don't want to talk in public, send your thoughts to me, and we will try to decide very shortly, or in the next week or so, whether we'll be meeting in person. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Have a second? All right, Commissioner Cahill.
Second.
Commissioner Upton.
Yes.
Commissioner Foxham.
Yes.
Seconds. Commissioner Heavenridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Hauser.
Yes.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulford.
Sorry, yes.
No worries. Commissioner Newberg,
Yes.
Commissioner Parker,
Yes.
Commissioner Schneider.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? And me. All right. We will see you at the next meeting, whether in person or on Zoom. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
All right, thank you, Ronald and Bridget. Have a nice rest of the evening.
Thanks, you too.
You too, Jillian. See you later.
Bye.